Welcome to episode 495 of Get Paid for Your Pad. We are your hosts, Jesper Rivers and Eric Miller, and today we are going to talk about accountability. How do you drive results? By holding yourself accountable, by holding your team accountable. It's one of the most powerful things you can do to achieve your goals. So, Eric, tell me about the first time in your life that you learned the power of accountability.
Yeah, man. You know me. I love this I love this topic, especially when it comes to our team. That's something that we've been really focusing on recently for both companies is dialing in accountability. And it all starts with us, right? Like it starts with you and I as leaders to ensure that we're being held accountable for the things that, we want to accomplish in our company and then passing that down the line in our teams. Yeah, I think to answer that question, I think the biggest thing for me, as early as I can remember, is like accountability through coaching and team structure. So I grew up playing different sports. Did you grow up playing sports at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
What'd you play?
I did track and field and I did football.
Soccer.
Yeah, soccer. You
Got
call it
it.
soccer, or you call it football.
I don't know why they call it soccer, but 99% of the world calls it football, so we'll go with that one. Yeah, that was one of my favorite sports growing up, man, was football, or here in the States, soccer. I grew up in a town called Soccer Town, USA, which was pretty cool. So soccer was huge in the town I grew up in. So yeah, I mean, to answer that question, accountability, like I started learning that at an early age through sports. I think with most people who play sports, they start learning about accountability, showing up for the team, common goals, playing all out. The moment that you miss practice, or the moment that you don't show up for your position, you feel it. The team feels it. The goal feels it, right? Of trying to win that team. So, or win that game. So yeah, I think for me, like I started learning about accountability at an early age. But for me, one of the biggest things that I recognized was after playing sports my whole life, like past high school, a lot of accountability in my life kind of disappeared. And I've shared this story a little bit. But as far as like the structure of accountability, and obviously the structure of sports was out of my life, between the ages of like 18 and 21 ish, maybe it was a little bit younger than that, maybe 17 to 20. I ballooned. I gained about like 65, 75 pounds from where I was in high school. So, gained quite a bit of weight. And it happened super, super quick, like graduating high school, not having sports, not having any accountability in my life, kind of not really having a focus in my life and trying to figure out like real estate investing and the whole thing. I gained nearly like 70 something pounds from when I was in high school. So it took me a long time, man, to start building accountability in my life again, specifically for that one goal of like becoming healthy. And this was like, again, no sports, no accountability, eating like crap, drinking, not working out, like just like started procrastinating like crazy. And then before I knew it, I was nearly 100 pounds over where I wanted to be, which is a crazy thing to be in, right? Position wise. But this was the time that I started doing self-development work and started investing in like programs like Landmark. And I don't know if you're familiar with Landmark, but here
Yep.
it's yeah, you might have went through it. It was huge right around the time all of this was happening. But over the course of a handful of years, my goal was to lose 100 pounds. And it took me a long time to figure out accountability and the coaching and all of that to get back to a position where I had a goal, I had the structure, I had the accountability, I had the coaching, all of that to get to this goal. And I think about 3 or 4 years after me setting that goal, I hit the scale at 100 pounds, like lost 100 pounds. And I can go into like how I did all that stuff, but that was freaking awesome, man. And that's when I realized, like, oh, okay. What I was missing the most was one, a goal, two was accountability to myself and to a coach, to a team. And then three was just consistent action behind it. So I think like that story And like that time of my life really kind of shifted a lot for me. And I remember like when you and I were kind of talking about like, hey, what topic do we want to talk about on this upcoming podcast? And we mentioned accountability. I'm going through my mind on those examples and just like those lessons. And I realized like, oh crap, I'm back in the same spot that I was a handful of years ago with my health, not gaining that much weight, but in lack of accountability when it comes to having a goal, having a coach, having a structure around my health goals. And recently with both businesses, I'm working my butt off. And like things are kind of like structured in our life to where like you can go a full day without moving your body much, sitting behind a computer, right? Or on the phones. And you have multiple days of that, weeks after weeks, you start gaining weight. You start like losing track of what the main goal is. So just this conversation alone and thinking about that time when I was like over 100 pounds, I was like, or 100 pounds overweight, I was like, oh crap, I need some accountability back in my life when it comes to health. So I literally went out and hired a coach recently to support me on my new health goals. So I think it's like ebbs and flows in certain parts of your life of accountability and really just making sure that's a forefront of decision making in your life and constantly going back to understanding where in your life do you need accountability and who can you commit to, who can support you on being accountable, and how transparent can you be around all that.
Yeah.
So
Well, first of all, congrats on that transformation. Um, we actually shared that with our community today. I think it's a really inspiring story. I've never been overweight or not that much, so I have a lot of respect for people that can that can achieve that. Can we share the image for the YouTube viewers, the before and after
yeah,
picture?
that'd be great, man. That'd be awesome.
Let's do it. Let's do it. There it is.
Yeah. There you go.
Dude, it's crazy, man. I don't
Yeah,
recognize
that's
you on
nuts,
the
right?
left there. And if
Yeah.
you're listening to this, you can go to YouTube and search for "Get Paid for Your Pad" because we do all these podcasts on video. So it's you can see exactly what we're looking at here.
Yeah, and leave that off for a second. So on the left hand side, that was actually not my heaviest. That was the only time I could find a picture of me at that size. But at that time, I was right around 300 pounds ish, plus or minus. But that's when I started committing. I'm like, holy crap, man! Like I need some accountability in my life to where I was sleeping to like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I was drinking all night with friends and like eating whatever I want, and I had zero accountability when it came to my health. And then when I met Kunsuk, so whoever's looking at the video, you can see Kunsuk on the right hand side. He's a Muay Thai champion from Thailand, who owned a little school in New Jersey, teaching Muay Thai. I walked into that gym that size on the left hand side, 300 pounds. And I said to him, like, hey, my goal here, I don't want to be a professional Muay Thai fighter. I just I want to train and I need some accountability and I need to commit to something to achieve this goal because on my own, I can't do this. And in his broken English, he said something to the effect of lace up and let's go. And right there, we started training. I trained with him every day, 5 days a week for a handful of years to get to that point where I dropped about 200, dropped down to 200 pounds, which was awesome, man. And like, that felt freaking amazing. And yeah, that was my commitment to him. That was my commitment to myself. And then before I knew it, I had a community in that Muay Thai gym that really supported on that. So yeah, man, accountability is everything. Like, obviously I share this because that was a huge journey for myself. And now looking at this picture, I'm motivated to get back into the gym, man.
Yeah.
Start hitting some pads again.
Well, I'll share one very simple thing that me and my girlfriend do to keep our weight in check. We weigh ourselves every morning, and we have a whiteboard in our apartment where we write down our weight every single day.
Mm.
So we don't necessarily have like a goal of like, oh, I want to be at this weight. But just go doing that every single morning, and it literally takes like 10 seconds. If we see that weight going up, it's automatic alarm bells in your mind, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh damn, like I need to up my game at the gym. I need to like, do some fasting in the morning and go on some bike rides and stuff like that. So that's been working really well for us. And I think with when it comes to personal growth and health and these type of things, I think your partner is the ideal accountability coach, right? Because you're constantly around each other, doing a lot of things together. So that's been really powerful for me.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you're aligned with your partner, right? And at the time of that picture, I was with somebody who is really feeding the bad tendencies of my life, right?
Mm.
And it took me a while to recognize that the people around me, and I've said this a handful of times on this podcast of like my favorite quote of you are the total sum of the five people you spend the most time with, right? And at that time, that's when I started learning about that. I'm like, man, all me and my friends do is stay up late, drinking, eating. We don't do anything. Like that's all we do. That was my life at that time and working, right? And very toxic mindset, conversation, the whole thing. And then I started recognizing when I started surrounding myself once I hired Kunsak as a coach, and then he introduced me to his community of like 10 Muay Thai trainers, practitioners, I should say. These individuals had the mindset of like consistency and accountability. Like before we would end every single training, everybody would commit to showing up the next day. And if you didn't show up the next day, everyone called you out the next time you showed up to training. You were getting text messages, you had to work harder. It was a thing where it became harder for me not to show up than to show up and just put the work in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the accountability behind the coach and like really finding that coach of Kunsak and like really connecting with him as a human being. And I'm like recognizing like, hey, this is somebody who really believes in me and believes that I could actually achieve this thing. And then plugging into a community that's truly holding you accountable. That changed everything for me. Right. So yeah, I mean, dude, small things like that of like daily check-ins. We do this with our team, right? Like we do, today is we have different themes for the week, right? Different themes for each day of the week within our team. And Wednesdays is no meeting Wednesdays, right? So we realize like, hey, with two businesses, we can get caught up on meetings all day long. And sometimes they're productive, sometimes they're not, right? But then there's also work that we have to do at a high level that drives a different type of productivity, a different type of result for our company, where you have to be undistracted. You can't be thinking of meetings. You can't be on meetings. It's like CEO work, creative work in it, working on this thing with zero distractions. So we created the process, right? The first it started with me, no meeting Wednesdays, and now it's a standard in the company. So the number one accountability for that is to hold the line on not scheduling any calls, regardless of what's happening, unless it's a fire, unless everything is burning down, which never happens. Everything could
Mm-hmm.
wait 24 hours. The first standard is no meeting Wednesdays, right? We're working on one thing. But now what we started doing, right, is the top three. Everyone at 9 a.m. PST posts up what they're working on that day and what they're trying to achieve, right? So now it's holding us accountable to that day of being productive and getting things done versus, the ability to kind of not work as hard on those days, if that makes sense. So, yeah, insight, those small things like that really drive major results. And especially for like the listeners who are trying to, man, the amount of hosts that I'm talking to right now for Legends X is unreal, like from all around the world. And everyone's kind of struggling with the same things of, I want to grow my company, but I got so much stuff going on without like those. And a lot of them just don't have accountability structured in their business, right? They're just kind of reacting to tasks. There's no accountability to how they respond to and hold the standards to their guests, to their team. So with this, I think with creating accountability within your company, we can start seeing some major results, even for the people that are just getting started or have a handful of listings that are trying to scale.
Yeah. I was just talking to Sean, who was part of our second Legends X class,
Mm-hmm.
and his host oath, his guarantee to his homeowners is if we don't get a 5-star review, you don't pay commission.
Yeah.
right? And that creates such strong accountability for him and his team members. He was just explaining to me, he was saying like, because it really hurts when we don't get a 5-star review, it pushes me and it pushes our entire team, and the entire team knows about this as well, right?
Yep.
Because that's obviously important. It's like really bringing in your team members and having those conversations with them. But that's right. I just realized when I was talking to him, I was like, wow, that drives such strong accountability for everybody on the team.
100%. And increase the standard in the company now, right? So when we teach the host oath, like a lot of people, they their host oath within Legends X, they're kind of like, we're going to do the best, we're going to be the best host in our market, right? Creating 5-star reviews, right? 5-star experiences. I feel like that's everyone's air quote host oath when you start hosting. Like, I want to create world-class 5-star experiences. That's great, right? That's great to stay. But when you attach it to a pain point and a pain point in your business, the results become incredible, right? And this is what I mean. Like Sean saying, I'm going to deliver 5-star reviews, 5-star stays every single time. That's one way of saying it, versus I'm going to deliver 5-star experiences every single time. And if I don't, you don't pay me. That is completely different. That is completely different. And it's going to force him and his team to show up 110%, because if he's not getting paid, his team members aren't getting paid, their business is going to get affected by someone not being accountable and holding the line with their standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not everybody can deliver on that. And that might scare a lot of people. For Sean, that really impacted his business in a great way, and he holds to it. If his team doesn't get a 5-star review for whatever reason, it's going to force him to look at what happened. Why didn't I get a 5-star review? Because I didn't make any money off of this stay. That hurts. Okay, what actually happened? Actually, we forgot to leave whatever it is, I'm making this up. We forgot to leave some extra linens during the winter time, and it was cold, so they left us a 4.5-star because they were a little bit cold that night. Okay, so now moving forward, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Or I didn't respond to the messages in time, so they felt neglected. That's why they left us a short review. So now we have to improve the customer service, right? So doing that, and that goes back to my weight loss story training with Kunsak. It was like, if we didn't show up to a class that we said that we were going to show up to, the next time you show up, it was pretty brutal, man. Like, everyone lined up, and you went through some sparring, and you had to do some extra work in the class that was a pain point. So again, it was more painful for me not to show up to a class versus showing up and putting the work in.
Yeah.
Right. So doing that in your company will drive incredible results.
Yeah. Another good example of that is when we are late on our calls, we do
Yeah,
10 push-ups for every minute that we're late.
that's right. That's right. That started as a joke, but now it's like everyone's early to our calls. They show up, a few minutes early. Now Aaron shows up 5 minutes early and he's playing music and everyone's kind of hanging out. We show up and we start on time. We're not waiting around. We're not wasting any time. We get after it. And yeah, that's fun, man. That's fun. And it's rough for people who are even 4 minutes late. They got to do 40 push-ups.
Yeah, and what I recognize is that we have so many layers of accountability in our team now, right? We have the push-ups for the team calls. You mentioned the top three, right? These are the three most important things that we work on during the day. We post those up on Wednesday, but on Monday, on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we do a quick Zoom check-in that we call the daily huddle, where we actually go through our top three. But even apart from that, the fact that we're using a task manager, right? We're using ClickUp, that already creates accountability because I can see your tasks. You can see my tasks.
Yeah.
We can see our team members' tasks. Our team members can see our tasks. And it's very simple. If somebody doesn't complete a task, it goes into this overdue category where you can, and we check for those every day, right? And that's another thing that we implemented is like every single day we check for overdues. And since we've been doing that, pretty much no one has overdues anymore.
Right. Right. And it kind of, let's give everyone some background on why we're doing it this way, right? It's like at the end of the day, when we're growing our business, we're going to have so much stuff going on all at once, right? Like with Free Wild, we're running the current properties, we are trying to renovate the current properties, and we are also trying to and we're also building the brand of Free Wild. There's a lot that goes on within that, right? So when we use a task, the task management, project management tool is called ClickUp. That is luckily we have Aaron on the team who truly like he trained everybody on how to use it and like holds it to a high level. Man, it's as important to us as the platform Airbnb is, right? Of having that thing open. We're in it all the time. But the idea here is like we have so many tasks to do to build this business and to scale this business that one, we want to make sure that we want to have insight on what we are currently working on and what our team members are working on a daily basis. So understanding the workflow of what they have. Number two is we then break that workflow down to the top three most important tasks of the day. That means if we can't get to everything on our task list, we are putting all of our effort into those top three items before we touch anything else, right? And then lastly is we check in from the day before and looking at our overview of understanding like, okay, what didn't we get done that is either holding up somebody else or is urgent for us to get done, right? And after a while, it's like, it just becomes like clockwork, right? Of us showing up, we have our meeting, we look through it, we understand it, we discuss it, we push items, we pull items, the whole thing, versus the hectic hosts that I speak to on a daily basis, man, that have zero accountability in their team. They have no real way of understanding structures. They just or their tasks. They're really just reactive, right? And the reason why, like reactive, as far as like, oh, I got to do this, and then oh crap, I forgot about this. Let me go do this, and like you're all over the place, and you're getting some traction in your business, but you're not making leaps forward in progress of your company. And I don't know about you, man, but like when we stick to that, I notice massive results in what we're doing with overnight success and now what we're doing with Free Wild, right? So yeah, I think not everyone has to go into that level, but at least as far as like project management tools, all of that. But if you have a growing team, you know that you want to add more listings and scale this business. You have to have a way to keep yourself accountable, your team accountable, the whole thing. And we have it all the way down to our cleaners, right? Of checking in with them daily, communicating with them daily. And anytime anything breaks down, we have a triage call where we understand like, hey, how did we overlook this cleaning? Why didn't this happen? Blah, 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 to hold the accountability there. So
Yeah.
accountability is everything to scaling a business.
Yeah. Yeah, and something that we recently implemented too is we having all of our team members submit a end of the week report. Just a quick video where basically all our team members are going through their ClickUp and showing like, hey, this is the stuff that I worked on. So we have accountability at so many levels now and we recently really optimized this. And then at the highest level, there's the monthly team reviews and the scorecards, right? So we have a job scorecard for all of our team members that describes exactly what their responsibilities are, what their KPIs are, and every single month we review that scorecard and we talk to our team members to see how they've done and also where they can improve, where they need support. And I think the combination of all those things, like the lower level stuff, like the task manager, the daily check-ins, and the weekly, and then the monthly, I feel really confident that now we have like a pretty solid accountability structure in place.
Yeah. And, to be clear, that all didn't happen all at once, right? It took us about 2.5 years, 3 years to implement all of this, and we're still fine tuning it.
Yeah,
And then we have our quarterly accountability,
yeah,
right? Where leadership comes together. And then we have our annual end of the year meeting where we assess the entire year and plan the following year, right? So it's like consistent check-ins and accountability personally. And then once you have a team, it is so freaking important that you understand that everybody from your cleaners to your COO to your CEO, whoever it is, regardless how big you are, if you have a team, clear accountability to ensure that you're all rowing in the right direction, the same direction, Man, it's one of the most important things that you can do because
Yeah.
otherwise, and one thing that we're doing now too is when anybody in the team says like, "Oh, I'll just get that to you next week or I'll do that tomorrow." It's like, "Okay, awesome. I appreciate that. What time tomorrow should I expect this?" Okay, awesome. I appreciate that. What time next week should I expect you to deliver this X, Y, and Z? Right? Okay, awesome. I'm going to add that to our schedule. I just sent you a reminder, and we're going to touch base on this time. If you can get it to me earlier, that's awesome. But otherwise, we're going to connect here. Right now, what this does is it keeps you in front of mind on both sides. Cause I remember giving projects out and there's, if I say, hey, I just need you to do this, like I was talking to a host, two business partners yesterday who they're cracking me up, man. They were yelling at each other about wanting to grow. They had 20 listings in 3 different states, and they wanted to double that by the end of the year. Right. In the next 6 months, 5 months, they want to have 20 new listings. 40 listings as a whole. And they're killing it. Like they're making enough money. Their goal was to make X amount of dollars per month each. They hit that goal. Now they want to double that. But they were yelling at each other saying like, "Hey, last time we applied for Legends X, we had the exact same numbers." And I'm like, "So what's happening? Why can't we move forward? What happens if I give you these 20 units over the next 4 months? What's going to happen to your business?" They were literally yelling at each other on who was responsible for setting up the new PMS in their company. Right. And to save names here, they brought on a new PMS that works. We know the company very well, but it's a lot to onboard and input 20 listings into that and training and the whole thing. They've been in the same spot for 5 months with this PMS, and no one had any accountability. The two partners had no accountability behind who actually owned it. They didn't have any accountability behind the timelines that they were expecting, the whole thing. So they're just dragging this thing on for 4 or 5 months, and they're still in the same spot from the last time I talked to them, right? And I'm like, okay. And I literally coached them through that process right then and there of saying, okay, who has the skill set of obsessed with details here? And one of them raised their hands. I'm like, okay, you are now the new owner of this program. What type of support do you need? How long will it take you to input the next 5 properties into this? Right. And we started breaking it down, and they went from the understanding of like, oh, it's going to take us a handful of months to get all of this set up to we can get this done in 2 weeks. Right. And they dragged it on for 5 months because they, one, didn't have clear accountability behind it. They didn't have a project. They didn't discuss who's going to own what. And then this thing becomes this massive project in their mind. Right. But the
Mm-hmm.
moment we start attaching some accountability, some clarity, some conversation, touch points, the whole thing, this massive mountain becomes a little hill that we can overcome. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, we're going to have this all day long in our businesses. There's just one project, one challenge, one thing to overcome, one after another. And we have to have the accountability and the clarity to achieve those clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess what I'm recognizing as you're telling the story is like the other thing that we talk a lot about that we learn as well through building our companies is ownership, right? Like if everything needs to be owned by somebody, and then there needs to be accountability in place, and that's
Yep.
really those two combined is really what drives action and what drives results. And going back to Legends X, when you and I started building Legends X, which is about a year and a half ago, more or less,
Hmm.
when we started building that was the first thing that we talked about was accountability, right? Because we both recognized that, and I looked up these numbers recently out of curiosity, but somewhere between 5 and 15% of students who enroll in an online course complete it, right? You look at different reports. One report says 5%, one says 10%, but the bottom line is like the completion rate of online courses is so low, and that's something that we really wanted to break through, right? Because it doesn't fulfill us to have somebody buy our course and then seeing that person drop out after like 2 or 3 weeks, which happens all the time, and I'm guilty there as well. I've bought at least 5 to 10 video courses in my life where I watched a couple videos, and because no one's holding me accountable, at some point I start procrastinating. I'll watch it next week, and then before you know it, you can even forget that you even bought the course.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like YouTube, man. Like I was on YouTube yesterday trying to learn something about interior design for Free Wild, of like how do you develop these themes at a big level. And I found this awesome video which was 20 minutes long, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch this thing. 3 minutes into it, I'm on a whole different topic in a whole different thing because I didn't have the accountability and the structure to watch this and implement it. Even though I wanted to learn it, I was distracted by this other thing over here.
Mhm.
So video online courses, they're great for what they are, but without the accountability, without the community, the structure behind it, it's going to be very difficult for somebody to go through it and implement. And we just had somebody enroll in Legends X yesterday who said that. He's like, hey, I called every single um short-term rental educator out there. I went through all the calls. I looked at what they're delivering. Everyone delivers the same thing: videos and a Facebook group, and once a month there's a call or whatever it is. He's like, I don't know if the content's better than yours, but the structure and the accountability and the community set you guys apart, right? And that's what's drawing me to you. So yeah, dude, 5 to 15% completion rate for online video courses, like that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, when you first hear that number, it's crazy, but it does make sense. So our goal with Legends X was really like how do we create accountability that our students are actually going to go through the 12 weeks of the program, could, do all the trainings, but also most importantly, do all the action items, right? Because we know that if people go through the content and do the action items, we know that people are going to get results. So I wanna go through kind of the layers of accountability that we created in Legends X, just like we created all these different layers in Overnight Success, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it starts with a platform that we chose to actually host our program, which was a very new platform. But what attracted us to the platform is that they also recognized that this percentage of this completion rate is so low, and so this platform also had the goal for themselves to increase that percentage. And one way they're doing that is by having experience points and tracking the students' progress and being able to automatically send out reminders of like, hey, you haven't logged into the platform for a couple days, right?
Yep.
Here's your login link. Let's get after it.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Exactly, dude. Like that was the biggest thing, right? Was understanding, again, this is clear insight of our students of like how many videos have they watched? What have they completed this week? What videos, what action steps did they take? Right. And being able to gamify the experience where we have good insight on where you're at in the Legends X process. One, awarded you for taking action, right? And you see that there's a points board that you see that. But then two is the moment that you start falling behind, then you start getting emails and text messages from us saying like, hey, we recognize that you're not showing up right now. What's happening? Where do you need help? What do you love about this? What's happening in your life right now? We're here for you. Let's take some action, right? And that alone excuse me, that one little um aspect of the program, I think a lot of people have fun with that too, which I like, but I think that alone just changes the dynamic of knowing that someone is watching kind of creepy. Someone's watching what you're doing in the program, but I think without it, we're going to be like that YouTube example I just shared, right? It's like we start going through it and you realize like there's content to take action, and then we're distracted with this thing over here. So
Mhm.
yeah, that gamified process is pretty powerful.
Yeah, but that's one part of it. But I think the other big part of it is every single week our students, they go into accountability pods of five to seven students with a coach, and every week you meet on Zoom. And if you didn't submit your action items, then you're gonna get called out. And being called out in front of other students, that's not fun.
Nope.
That's something that everybody wants to avoid at all costs.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit less painful than my Muay Thai days of having to do 1,000 sit-ups and get kicked and punched in the stomach for for not showing up. out of class. But yeah, I mean, like it's community, right? It's like you're committing to your pod that you're going to put the work in, you're going to show up, you're committing to your coach, the whole thing. And if you don't do that, we're not belittling you, we're not making you look small there, but we're there to show like, hey, we recognize that you didn't do this. Where do you need support? What happened? Like how can we help you? Because that's why we're here. Let's get this done. It's a lot of work. Everyone's busy, but we all want to grow. We all want to be more profitable. We will all want to create more experiences in our businesses. So let's do that. Let's get the work done so we can do more of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, those accountability calls, man, they're super, super powerful.
Yeah. I went through a pretty difficult personal growth program one time that's kind of related to Renmark, but they created so much accountability in the program. And I remember at some times like it felt like I would get a little bit nervous of like, oh shit, like people are really holding me accountable here. I can't slack off here. And I told one of the coaches, I told him that, and his response was, look, man, we're here to give you what you need, not what you want.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
and that also like kept going through my mind as we developed Legends X program. I kept thinking like, what how do we develop something that the students need, not
Yep.
necessarily what they want, but that's going
Yep.
to get them the result.
Yep. 100%. Dude, are you familiar with 75 hard?
Well, I know because you've been doing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's been a while since I did 75 hard, but yeah, I did. I won't spend too much time on this, but I just recently started looking at it again of understanding, what about that program has been so popular. If it, if you haven't heard of it, 75 hard is they call it a mental toughness challenge, right? A lot of people do it to get in shape, but they call it a mental toughness challenge where for 75 days you have X amount of things that you have to do every single day, regardless of the situation. You have to have two 45-minute workouts, you have to drink a gallon of water, you have to read 10 pages of self-development book, you have to journal, and then you have to follow a diet, right, for those, and you have to do these things every single day for 75 days. And it is so freaking important, or so simple, the way that they do this, where they have an app and every day you just click it off, right, and you click off the items. If you miss one of those items, regardless if you're on day 74, if you forget to read your 10 pages and you don't click that off, you start over from day one, right? So the further you get into the program, the more painful it is for you to miss something. So I remember as I was going through that, and I actually might want to do it again now that I'm talking about it, because I remember the challenge, the mental challenge of saying, oh man, I don't want to work out. I worked out this morning. I don't want to do this again. And saying, hey, I'm not starting over. I'm day 37. I'm not starting over. Right. I'm like, okay, let me go for a walk. Let me go for a bike ride. Let me go for a run, whatever that is. The reason why I bring this up is like, I started that challenge with 8 of my closest friends out here in San Diego that are all disciplined people, very successful business people. They all work out, they all eat healthy, it all aligned. Everyone reads, it all aligned with our lifestyle. By day 30, there was only 2 of us left. And then by day 35, there was only me left, and no one restarted, no one got back in. And the reason behind this that I believe is, one is the program is powerful because they have the pain point. If you fail, you're going to start over from day one, right? But where they fail, in my opinion, is the community aspect, the accountability. You have to hold yourself accountable behind it. And my friends weren't being held accountable behind that. But I made a statement to my friends. I made a statement to our team, to my girlfriend. I posted it up on the wall that I was going to complete that thing. So it was clear on the accountability side, right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is like, I find when we were building 75 hard, when we were building 75 hard, when we were building Legends X, I just like what you said, I was looking at the same thing of what does a new short-term rental CEO, new short-term rental business owner need in their business, and how can we get a fast result that most people think that's going to take them a year to achieve? How can we get that done in 90 days? right? Like, what do we have to, let's cut all the fat and let's just say, these are the things to do. But now here's the accountability. Here's the action. Here's the training. Here's the actions. But now we're also going to hold you accountable. So the moment that something gets in the way, you're tired, you've had a million fires to put out, whatever it is, you still need to put those action TNTs into your group by the end of the week and show up. Well, we realize that you're behind on your actions here. How can we support you take action on that? Right. Those things, man, just like what you said, what do they need, not what they want. That shift is what gets the biggest results in our business and in our personal life. So yeah, man, I'm proud. I'm happy to see that, and there's a reason, right? There's a reason why we have a 98% success rate with this program. It's not just the content, but it's the accountability groups, it's the coaching, it's the people that are involved in this, and it's the shared goal of, hey, we're going to scale our business and implement the VOS in the next 90 days, which most people think is going to take them a year or two to implement. We get it done in 90.
Yeah. And you're talking to a lot of hosts right now, as we're our next class is actually starting in 2 weeks. Is that one of the things that's missing most with the people that you talk to, is like the accountability part?
I mean, it's a big part of it for sure. It's just the accountability to stay on track. It's the accountability to take action every day. It's the accountability to stay focused. It's so easy to be distracted nowadays. It's, for me, I've gotten rid of all social media. I got rid of, it's not on my phone. I don't allow it. I don't allow Instagram. I don't allow Facebook. I'm even thinking of getting rid of YouTube, because now that's turning into a social media platform versus a educational platform. Like, there's more social media stuff involved, and shiny objects, if you will, than it is what it used to be for me of an educational spot. Where I go to now for all my education is obviously books and podcasts. That's it. Because as of right now, you can't really develop. They're not designed right now to distract you, right? Books and podcasts, where everything else is there to distract you. So most of the hosts that I speak to, they're doing well with their business. They want to grow, but a lot of people are stuck in the same spot because they haven't created accountability within their team. So they're experiencing the same challenges. They look at all their problems as the biggest things in the world. So it's hard for them to start. It's hard for them to look at a challenge and not see a massive mountain in front of them, right? Without that. So I think with the right accountability, the right structure, implementing these things, we can get bigger results for people than if they were to just slowly go through it themselves, especially for the people that have side jobs, like have a full-time job and they're trying to build this on the side, or the hectic hosts that are just in the day-to-day. We need to build that in. So we need to be those entrepreneurs that are focused on clear accountability, clear structure, and clear goals within our companies.
Yes. So to summarize this podcast, accountability is what drives result in your personal life, for your health, everything that you do in life. You really need accountability. You need it in your business. You need it in your team. You need to hold your team accountable, whether you have one cleaner or you have a team of 10 people. It's still the same. It's the same concept, and you need accountability to build your business. And that's the accountability that we offer in Legends X. So we have a few more spots left. The class kicks off in about 2 weeks. If you want to be held accountable by us and our program, then go to scrlegends.com/x. Put in your application. Eric's going to jump on a call with you to see if it's a good fit, because it's not for everybody, this program. But if it is for you, we'll offer you out a seat, and let's get after it in about 2 weeks.
That's right, man. Class 4. I'm pumped.
That's right.
I'm pumped. And just a few episodes away for episode 500 on this podcast, which is going to be big, man. That's a huge milestone for you personally, man. Because this has been your baby that you've been developing for many years now. But 500 episodes, dude, that's going to be huge. So we're going to have something fun on that episode.
I know. That's right. I'm excited about that. 500, big milestone. Awesome, dude. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
That's it, y'all. Yeah, I mean, for everyone who's sitting on the fence right now, just jump over to strlegends.com/x, send in that application, and we'll jump on a call. We have a handful of spots left for this class. And just like what you just said, if it's a good fit, we'll bring you in and we'll start solving problems in businesses and start making some money.
And keeping you accountable.
That's right.
All right, everybody.
All right,
Thanks
y'all.
for listening. We'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.